What's up guys, welcome to Veldora-kun. From our previous episode, we have seen the explanation on how the religion of Ruminism started. If you haven't watched the previous episodes, I will put the link in the description below. Just a quick warning, these videos contain spoilers from the light novel. I also want to share to you my YouTube membership, Veldora's Loyal Knights. For more details, just click the join button below. Also, don't forget to join our Discord community, Veldora-kun Subordinates. The link is in the description. See you there. So now in this video we will review what happened next, which is the solution on all of these discussions. This is the final episode for chapter 1. But before we will proceed, please like, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Now without further ado, let's proceed with the video. They couldn't afford to go to the extent of forcefully altering the doctrines, which would plunge the Western Saints Church into chaos. To put it simply, they only needed to find a reason to persuade the people to accept monsters. It sounded like they already had an agreement, but Reynolds' frown still implies that he still wasn't convinced. He said, "I understand, then, that our doctrines didn't come from the divine will of Ruminas-sama. But practically speaking, that is the exact doctrine all of us have spent our lives following. There will be problems if we simply discard them." Rimuru agrees with Reynolds' point of view. If they were to completely ignore the previous directions, the followers and the current establishment of the church would no doubt experience extreme backlash. Even if Ruminas showed herself before the public, there was no saying whether or not they will believe she was the real God itself. More importantly, there was no way Ruminas would ever do such a thing. If that is the case, it would go against the long-established beliefs of people who still stood with the doctrines and cause internal division. Hinata responds, "But we have to do it. I was hoping we could keep silent on this until things settled down, but we have a force of 100 holy knights here, and I'm sure the other nations are aware of us. Moreover, didn't all the reporters from the Western nations witness the defeat of the three martial sages?" Hinata had a point. Diablo mentioned that he defeated a man called Sayer of the three martial sages. There was apparently someone else at the scene, but then he turned tail and ran. After the reporter's eyewitness testimony of this chain of events, the status of Hinata and the rest of the guardians of mankind was surely going to suffer a disastrous decline. In addition to the news of the defeat of the Holy Knights, there would likely be unnecessary chaos. Although according to how Diablo put it, he may be able to pressure the reporters. Rimuru thinks everything is so troublesome. So he suggests a plan. If that's the case, we can just resolve it by claiming that Hinata and I ended in a draw. Since we discovered the evil plan of the seven celestials, we were able to declare a truce. People already know I'm a slime for the most part, but if we spread the word that I'm an otherworlder, you think that would be a bit more convincing? And Hinata replies, "That indeed sounds like a great proposal for us. But are you really okay with that? Wouldn't the news that a demon lord ended up in a tie with me tarnish your prestige as a demon lord?" Rimuru thinks does he really have a prestige to begin with? Rimuru felt like Shuna has been lecturing him a lot lately. Whenever he encountered anything troublesome, he just tossed it to Rigard to deal with it. All he did was travel and chill with Gobta. He answers, "There shouldn't be an issue. You can even say that I was defeated. Anything goes with things like victory or defeat." He answered the way he did because it was simply what he thought, yet it seemed to have a profound impact on Hinata and the rest. Hinata said, Look, in all of history, there's only a tiny handful of times when a human defeated a demon lord, you know? There will be severe consequences if you just go and simply claim something like that. It may even cause the balance of power to collapse." And Reynolds backed her up. That's exactly the case. You've just become a demon lord. If you allow other factions to look down on you under such circumstances, you'd be asking others to intrude on you and your domain. Both Reynolds and Hinata tries to persuade Rimuru out of it due to worriness. However, Rimuru responds, "Benimaru, do you know of any possible forces that may invade this land?" And Benimaru answers, "Not at the moment. Even if there is anyone foolish enough to invade, I shall destroy them for you." As for the Western nations, Diablo was making proper arrangements. The rescued reporters apparently became his tools to exploit, so right now he seemed to be pushing his plan forward with an iron fist. As reports have pointed out, sooner or later Yam would be crowned as the new king. Even the small neighboring nations near Pharmus were helping to accelerate the process. If that were the case, the only country left that possessed sufficient force to battle against Jura Tempest would be the Ingratia kingdom. Right now, with Rumina's promised 100-year buffer period, they had effectively conquered the Western nations. It was the same with the demon lords. Rimuru defeated Clayman in front of their eyes, which had quite the effect in setting an example. As long as he remained alive, even if the news of his defeat came out, they probably wouldn't believe it. They may suspect it as a trap and instead proceed with caution. So Hinata finally gave up. You sound pretty confident. I have no objection, if that's the case. Then we shall take your proposal graciously and use it effectively. And Rimuru added, while we're at it, why don't you make an announcement about how the residents of our nation are not bad people? And Reynold agrees, very true. Honestly, the citizens of this town are all very kind. It is hard to believe that they are goblins and orcs. It is still debatable whether demi-humans are monsters or not. But I think those are just discriminations caused by bias. And Arno agrees, you said it. It would certainly be challenging if the humans become hostile against demi-humans, while races such as dwarves are considered as an actual part of humanity. If we started calling them monsters, then it would be impossible to tell spirits apart from monster either. Races such as ogres and lizardmen were originally considered as demi-humans, yet due to their hostility against humans, they were categorized as monsters. As for their evolved forms, they were not categorized as monsters, but instead as earth deities. In short, the only point of distinction is whether they were hostile to humans or not. For this reason, it would be impossible to lump all monsters together as enemies. Rimuru also said, well, we have formal relations with the Dwarven Kingdom. So it would be fine if we talk King Gazel into making a 100-year friendship. Wouldn't it add some credibility to our promise to not attack humans? Hinata added an agreement and said, I suppose that's fine. It would be much easier to persuade them and earn their trust. Moreover, since we have the opportunity, we may also eliminate the people with deep connections with the seven celestials in the process. Hinata's voice was ruthless and cold, so no one dared to object. She planned to take the opportunity and push all the charges onto the seven celestials. Even though this method seemed dirty, that was Rubirio's business. It wasn't an issue that Rimuru's party could have a say in, so they just let them have their fun. Then they now begin to discuss the details. For future communication, Arno and Bacchus decided to temporarily stay at Jura Tempest, though they would first need to return to their home nation for preparations. They apparently planned to bring some civil servants along as well. As for Rimuru, they planned to take the time to construct a Rumanism church for their accommodation. They should be seeing believers of Rumanism coming in and out of their nation in the future as well. Although it was disconcerting to acknowledge religious freedom, it would all work out in the end. If there's a will, there's a way. Honestly, the monsters didn't believe in any god. There wasn't a single almighty deity that was widely recognized in this world, which was quite different compared to my previous world. There were indeed religions, but they were more like, for example, tributes to the earth deities. In a practical sense, they believed in deities who would actually respond to their prayers with actual aid. A good example would be the worshippers of dragons who revered Milim. Among the many religions of this nature, Rumanism held the greatest power. The hands and feet of Ruminas, that were the holy knights, would aid the weak, thus earning the trust of the public. If we changed our perspective, we could just consider this as our nation receiving a branch of the Western Saints' Church that would help the weak. Rimuru figured that even though there may not be such a chance, they may still help each other out if there was ever any trouble. When any threats appear, they may fight alongside the holy knights. Then, they would have no reason to say no. Naturally, they would be under surveillance, but with some freedoms. And just like that, they were able to come to a compromise on the whole thing. And that's it for my video. Now, it's shout out time. Thank you for joining Veldora's loyal knights. Thank you John Peter Valino. I also want to thank my beloved existing loyal knights. Next, I want to give a shout out to my Discord booster. Thank you for boosting the server twice. For our next episode, we'll go to the second chapter of Volume 8. Thank you so much everyone. See you on my next upload.